Lane, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
As Lane pointed out, the first debate is in August in Milwaukee. And in order to get up there, I've got to have donations from 40,000 individuals. The donation can be as small as $1. So please go to my website, larryelder.com or elderforpresident.com, either one works, and donate $1 and get 40,000 of your friends to do that as well so I can get up there. The reason I am running is because I want to put up front and center some issues in addition to the obvious ones that our side, in my opinion, does not talk enough about. The 10,000-pound elephant in the room is the epidemic of fatherlessness. 40% of American kids now enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from around 8% in 1965. 70% of black kids now enter the world without a father in the home, up from 25% in 1965 when Lyndon Johnson launched a so-called war on poverty. 50% of Hispanic kids do. And the stats are clear. When you are raised without a dad, you are 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What we've done with the welfare state is we've incentivized women to marry the government. We've incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. And this is not to attack single moms who are heroically raising their children, but it is to say it is far, far more difficult for all sorts of reasons when you are doing it alone. And don't take my word. Tupac Shakur once said, I know for a fact, quote, that had I had a father, I would have been more disciplined, I would have been more confident, end of quote. I've got some ideas about what we can do about that. All these kids who are being raised without a father, they need mentors. They need a male figure in their life. I'm a baby boomer. My generation is retiring or has retired or will soon retire, and many of us are vigorous, as you can see. They've raised their children. They've nurtured their grandchildren. They need to get involved. I liken it to AA, as when an alcoholic who's recovering has a sponsor. Every one of these kids should have sponsors. And in my bully pulpit as president, I'm going to be encouraging men to do just that. There are all sorts of programs, local programs, religious programs, where this kind of work is being done, and I'm going to encourage them all to get involved. Also, we're spending a lot of tax dollars at the federal level for welfare programs that are creating dependency. We should be able to direct those funds on our own tax return for organizations, churches, nonprofits in our own neighborhoods where you know people are doing this kind of work and where this kind of work is effective. Thank you. The other issue I want to bring to the table is the absolute catastrophe of urban government school education in America. Just to choose one city, Baltimore. Do you know there are 13 public high schools in Baltimore where 0% of the kids can do math at grade level? I kid you not. Another half a dozen, only 1% can. That's 50% of all the government high schools in the city of Baltimore, all of which are located in the inner city, where either 0% or only 1% of the kids can do math at grade level. Chicago, 53 government schools, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Nationwide, according to the National Report Card, 85% of black 8th graders, these are 13-year-old kids, can neither read nor do math at grade level. Half can't do basic reading, which means a substantial percentage of 8th graders in America who are black are functionally illiterate. How in the world is this acceptable? Yet the Democrats, in bed with the teachers union, adamantly oppose school choice. Never mind that studies have shown test scores improve, graduation rates improve. This is an absolute disaster, and more needs to be done about it. Finally, we need to address this lie, absolute lie, that pits Americans against Americans, that America remains systemically racist. It's a lie that's not only driving things like, thank you. It's a lie that's not only driving things like critical race theory and the debate on reparations and race-based preferences and diversity, equity, inclusion. It's also getting people killed. How? It's called the Ferguson effect or the George Floyd effect. Those of you in law enforcement know what I'm talking about. It's a phenomenon of cops pulling back from their normal proactive policing in the last several years. that has resulted in thousands of people being violently attacked or killed who otherwise would not have suffered if the police had been doing their normal proactive policing. Democrat Mayor Rahm Emanuel of Chicago, after a high-profile shooting of a black person, said the police had, quote, gone fetal, close quote, meaning they weren't doing their normal jobs, and as a result, crime was up, and the excess victims and excess deaths primarily are the very black and brown people that people on the left purport to care about. We had 4 months worth of protests, some violent in the streets, beginning in May of 2020. 35 people killed, 2,000 police officers wounded, $2 billion of property damage because of the death of George Floyd. However you feel about the behavior of Derek Chauvin, the lead prosecutor, who was black, took pains in his opening statement to say the police in general were not on trial. The Minneapolis PD was not on trial. This individual named Derek Chauvin is on trial for what he did and what he didn't do. And Derek Chauvin was never charged with a hate crime. And the prosecutor never even implied that Chauvin was motivated because of George Floyd's race. Yet 4 months worth of protests in the streets because of an assumption that what happened to George Floyd had to do with his race. Now, I don't know about the ideology of the people who were protesting, especially those who were violently protesting, but I suspect if you ask them to describe their ideology, they would say that they were very liberal. I mention that because there's a website called policemag.com in which people who self-described as very liberal were asked the following question. How many unarmed black men did the police kill in 2019? 50% of the self-described very liberal people thought the police killed 1,000. 8% thought they killed 10,000. Of the just regular liberal self-described, 39% of them thought the police killed 1,000 unarmed black men in 2019. 5% thought they killed 10,000. The answer, according to the Washington Post database, 12. That is a gap between what people think is going on and what is really going on, all driven by this narrative pushed by people like Joe Biden, who recently at a commencement exercise at Howard University said the number one threat to the homeland was white supremacy. Are you kidding me? The Anti-Defamation League keeps track of how many people are killed by extremists, no matter the color of the extremists. Last year, 25. In 2020, over 10,000 blacks were killed.